progress report for this Wednesday, July 21st, I believe. And beautiful.
You're
day
correct,
here.
Bob. It is the 21st.
I got it right this week. That's good. And it's really nice to have a nice, bright, dry day out there. I hope nonetheless that some of you will be tuning in to enjoy to be part of our show tonight. We have one of our favorite guests back with us, Alderman Pat Long, also a state rep, chairman of the Manchester, New Hampshire House delegation, as he has been for many years.
And on the county executive committee,
And on
I
the
think,
county
too.
executive committee, he's a man for every reason in all seasons, and contributes so much to our community. But I want to turn it over to my good friend and co-host Mike Farley, because he came up with a really, I think, short but really compelling video that I just got a chance to see before we forwarded it to our able director Brendan to present to you. So you want to say something about
Well, yeah, I do. You know, Bob, it's been years now, I have been saying a leader without followers is just a guy taking a walk. And, to no avail, unfortunately, but we are in a situation right now, and I think this video kind of brings it home, illustrates it in a very short and concise way, that, it's time to reckon with yourself. You can either be part of this insurrectionist death cult of personality, or you can be a serious public servant, diplomat who wants to help his community. You can't be both. You just can't be both. And I see people, running in the Republican Party for office, and people, oh, well, he's a good Republican. You can't be both. You have to make your call. And so let's just run the video. It's about a minute long. I hope you'll indulge me. Take a look at it, and I hope it hits home for you.
It was an attack on the American Capitol, an assault on the temple of our democracy, a plot to destroy us all. The attackers followed a sick and corrupted ideology promoted by a charismatic leader, obsessed with grievances and wild conspiracies, driven by fear, willing to take innocent lives for their leader. On that day, our capital was saved from destruction only by the bravery of a handful of Americans with nothing in common but their love for this nation and their willingness to answer the call to courage. That day was the terrorist attack of September 11th, 2001. Al-Qaeda's attack on the Capitol was thwarted only by brave Americans willing to die to protect us all. There have only been 2 large-scale terrorist attacks planned against the U.S. Capitol. January 6th was ordered by an American president. Where do you stand? With the terrorists or America?
Says it better than I could.
It certainly does. I mean, that really is a very powerful video, and it just leads me to think about. I'm very concerned about the future of democracy in this country. When Lincoln told us in 1863 that the Civil War is about whether government of the people, by the people, for the people shall perish on the face of the earth, that was the stakes then. I really truly think it's the stakes now, maybe even more than then, if that's possible.
Well, pay attention, folks.
And,
redistricting. Keep an eye on redistricting. Keep an eye on voter laws.
Voter suppression. All this stuff that's going on.
Keep an eye on investigations that don't happen.
Yeah, right. But we have things to deal with.
Turning the page.
In our state, in our city, that are not that cosmic, maybe, but. Still very important, and for that we couldn't have a better guest than Alderman Pat Long. Has been, how many terms you served, Pat?
Alderman terms is 10.
And
Holy cow.
One on the school committee?
And not terms, I'm sorry, 10 years.
10 years.
And the one on the school committee, like 14 months, and 8 terms on state rep. Yeah.
Well, the old saying, if you want something done, go to a busy man, applies to Pat Long. I tell you, if you want something done.
And I'll catch him picking up trash in the cemetery on a Sunday afternoon.
I
mean, it's easy to do because there's so much that needs to be done, and if you're focused on raising people up,
yeah,
and there's plenty to be done. And in politics, you get one or two successes, you're good for another. You know, the fact that we beat Right to Work, right after beating Right to Work, I turned to my colleague and said, "Yep, I'm ready for another term." Right? You know,
You're gonna need
That's
that.
the juice you need, right?
They're gonna come
you
back
get that
again, no
you get
doubt
that
about
one
it.
win, and yes, here we go.
That was a big, I don't know if you intended to lead off with it, but that was a huge vote here
was.
in New Hampshire. And it took Republicans to help out.
Oh, absolutely.
And that, you know,
I mean, we-
again, good Republicans, right? People who are serious about their work,
Out
you
of
know.
any term, this would have been the year. Out of any term,
Yeah.
I mean, we were looking at maybe if we're lucky, we would get 12. We ended up with 24 to beat it. 24 over.
Yeah.
So
I think
Yeah,
one
really.
guy that was very strong on that side, your side, my side, was Fred Doucette. I don't
Yeah.
think how did he vote this time?
you know what? I didn't check and see how he voted, but I believe he either didn't vote or
He voted
Which
for
in New Hampshire,
Right.
that's something that is done sometimes, you know.
That's just unbelievable. Well, one of the things I wanted to have you come on with us tonight for, Pat, was your very significant role in trying to bring forward a path to having the school committee have its own financial autonomy.
Sure.
And, you know, I mean, it really made me smile to see that you had success with the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to have this
Yep.
put on the ballot. I'd like you to talk about that, what it'll do, what you think the chances are, what the campaign is going to be to help push this through to voter approval.
Yeah, well, there will be a campaign. You know, it rests on the voters. You know, it could go up or it could go down. I'm just, you know, in my mind, you know, ever since I've been involved at 10, 11, 12, 15, 16 years, every year there's a battle. Every year. As an alderman, for a month and a half, I put my school board hat on and I appropriate their funding. It's just not in my mind the way to do things. You know, the Board of School Committee is upset with the alderman. The aldermen are upset with the Board of School Committee. You know, we hear about how we're one city. However, we set policies where we could go at each other. You know, so the bottom line is you know, Board of School Committee members. I mean, when I sat on that board for the 14 month, I was blown away by the learning curve. I mean, there was a lot to it.
That's a profession.
Exactly.
That's just not anybody walking
there's-
off the street and can
there's,
handle
there's
something
a huge
like
catch
that.
up.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just felt the voters vote for people. I don't know why, as an alderman, I'm more special than a Board of School Committee member. I don't think so. We're both getting voted by our peers. You know,
They're actually more
I have the
specialized.
same,
As we just were saying, they're
no,
actually more
exactly.
specialized
So I have
than an alderman, a
Yeah, I have
generalist.
the same respect for them that I would hope they would have for me, and we're equal. I'm not above, I'm not below. We're at eye level. So with that, you know, I think they ought to have that responsibility. You know, they ought to have the responsibility of their financial. They know better than us, you know, year to year what's needed and how to get to a specific point. So, you know, and the bottom line is if you know, if you don't like the way the financial matters of your Board of School Committee member, then, you know, vote them in or vote them out.
Every 2 years, we get a shot at that.
You know, I mean, you know, you hear
And it's
these.
still subject to the tax cap, whether it's the Board of School
Absolutely.
Committee or the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Absolutely. So, and it's. I mean, you hear all this speculation. They're gonna, you know, there was a Tuesday. What is an example of, you know, if it goes up to $20 million that they override the cap, it's gonna cost every homeowner. You know, okay, it's going to cost them $1,000. Well, if it goes up $100 million, it's going to cost them
Yep.
$10,000. You know, you know, the speculation is just a speculation.
Pigs had wings,
it's
they could
easy.
fly, you know?
Well, you know, you talk about leadership, Mike. As a leader, I always knew that I was vulnerable. Because what happens? As a leader, you put everything on paper and you show everybody, here's our proposal, here's what we want to do. And people sit back, look at the proposal, didn't help you with it, look at the proposal and criticize you or poke holes on it. But that's part of being a leader. You know, you have to put things in front of people, and sure, people are going to come and attack you. So as a leader, you're vulnerable, and get ready for it, because people are going to.
And by the way, it's not a bad system to have ideas challenged. That's not a bad
no,
thing.
exactly.
If you stand
Exactly.
behind your ideas, you welcome it
Yeah.
and you
No, that's right.
respond. You
That's
know,
right. Yeah,
Pat,
yeah.
before we go further on this, can you talk? It was a very complex road to get this to where it is today.
Yes.
I mean, we had to. You had to maneuver through the state, and then again through the city, and again serving in both bodies. You were uniquely able to do that. Can you just really quickly give a little history of
So-
where this started, how long ago, and what it took to get here?
So I mean, I've been thinking about this for years. So in 2019, I went to Legislative Service. That's as a state rep, you go to Legislative Services, you tell them what you want to do, they write up a bill. So my bad bill was not written by me. Trust me, it was not written by me. I don't have a clue on the legalities of that. So you go to Legislative Services and you give them an idea. Here's what I'd like to do. I would like to have the Manchester Board of School Committee have its own autonomy. What is it that I need to do? Like Concord, I told them. Unbeknownst to me, Concord has separate charters for the councilmen and the district.
What an idea!
We're a joint charter. I didn't realize that. Well, otherwise would have been my pursuit.
But which is why you go to Legislative Services,
That's
because they
correct.
know stuff like
That's
that, and,
correct.
and they help guide you through that process.
So I get a bill, and I get the bill passed, and the Attorney General is reviewing the bill and putting holes in it. So Attorney Eggert, is it?
Oh,
With-
Dean Eggert?
Dean
Yeah.
Eggert, with the commission, says you have three choices. I disagree with their interpretation of this. However, we could accept it, we could fight it, or we could go another approach. And that's how we came up with that question at the last election, which 63% approved. And that's what we did. You know, we're going to spend $50,000 to fight the Attorney General, who's got a ton of lawyers that, you know, it's going to take a while, and we're going to wait 3 or
you're
4
gonna put it to
years
the people.
to implement
you
this
took
stuff.
the right choice there.
Yeah, we just needed to move forward, take little bites at a time. That's the way it's always been. You know, so my intent of the autonomy got squashed. However, the Board of Commissioners, the commissioners came up with these 4 questions that are in the current, the ones that the alderman passed. The difference on one of them is it says any override, you know, any override has to go back to the board. Any override of the taxes of the cap has to go back to the Board of Aldermen. And I replaced that with they're allowed with, you know, a supermajority, 10 Board of School Committee members to override the tax cap. And dealing with one of the attorneys, the issue I had with that was on the fact that we're a joint charter. So the mayor's responsible to submit a budget in March. Let's say the school board overrides the cap by $3 million. Does that tie the alderman's hands? Well, it doesn't. If the charter says they have their autonomy, they have their autonomy. So if it's a 2% increase.
So they wouldn't be eating into what you guys
correct.
could do.
That was my fear.
And it's conceivable that you could have 2 different rates of increase.
That's right.
One might be over the tax cap, one might not, or both might be, depending on the circumstances.
Exactly. So even if they decide to override, that doesn't bind us from having to keep within that override.
So they're not robbing your budget to fund
Correct.
their override. I understand.
Yeah. So the 4 issues. One is the mayor is not the chair of the board anymore.
Yeah.
They'll pick a chairman. There'll be 14 elected board members. You know, one of the.
Do you know if that's common? I'm asking because I don't know. Do either of you know? Is it common to have the mayor over in the school realm as
it's
the
common
chairman?
to have them there with they could participate, but they don't have a vote. A lot of them
Decide, but
just
they don't vote.
well, some of them don't even preside. They just go to the meetings. I know Mayor Donchis in Nashua goes to the meetings. He doesn't have a vote. However, you know, I mean, he is the mayor, so he oversees the budget, and he could veto whatever, because that's going to go to the alderman. So and other municipalities do that also. And we've had both experiences in the city of Manchester. Some mayors went and didn't participate or participated a little. Some took the reins. Some of them didn't go. So
The vice chair would run all the meetings.
exactly. So so that's one of them. The other one is a simple board of school committee change to school board. I mean, board of school committee is. I still have a hard time figuring. Okay, what are they now? Oh,
There
yeah.
is a reason why it's called that.
Okay.
I looked into it a long time ago, but I'm not even going to try to untangle it. But
Yeah. So-
it's from where it came from.
And then the other one is currently when there's a vacant seat, the alderman appoints, nominates somebody, and they vote for somebody to fill that
Which
seat.
just happened in Ward 12.
Correct. Yeah. And this change is the board of school committee will do that.
This makes good sense.
An
alderman could still make a nomination or a suggestion.
well, anybody can put their name
sure,
in for nominations, and an alderman can make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the argument is, well, aldermen know the ward better than the school district does. I don't know about that. I mean, I have. Well, let's look up the history and see who was picked by what alderman.
Yeah.
I know the two picks I had were all Democrats. I mean, that's just the way it works as alderman, right?
Yeah.
Let's so I don't buy that they know the ward better and they could pick the better person. I don't know that. The board of school committee knows the work ahead of them. They'll look at the resumes and say, "Whoa, he could fit in X, Y, Z."
Yeah.
So let them do that.
Well, you want somebody to know something about education, I would think. You said
Yeah.
when you were in the school committee, it was a big learning curve for you. When
It was.
You're a pretty sophisticated
Yeah,
guy,
it was.
so
It was.
there you go.
I was just blown away by all the work that they do to get
So
our
when
district
this
on
gets
board.
on the ballot, there going to be 3 questions on this, or
Well, we're I'm still dealing with with Matt Norman and Emily and Alderman Sapienza, and I think Alderman Sapienza and I believe that we could have some of them separated. You're allowed to separate the question if they don't tie in. Like, for example, if an Article 5.02 question is going to affect, another one on the 2 or 3 pages, and that passes by itself, you got to get the other one to pass too. So, if they're not combined
it's
or
going to be
together.
much better to have them separated in terms of getting
Well, I
any
mean,
of this passed.
the issue of who's the chairman has nothing to do really with
Or
how is it financed.
changing the name to
Yeah. I mean, these
the
are
school
separate,
committee.
independent questions. They're unrelated.
Asking
I think
if
it would be
if
much
the
better to
mayor,
be separated.
asking if the mayor, it would be better separated. So we're looking at getting them separated.
I predict the changing of the name will win. I'm going to just put it out there right now.
That's a no-brainer. I'm interested
How
to see about
financial
the.
autonomy? You think that'll win?
I have to look into the
It
matter.
depends, I think, how much the conservatives get up and start to campaign against this is a big issue. I don't know how much.
To me, it's a conservative thing to let the people who are charged with the responsibility for the
Well,
money
you would think,
appropriate
yeah,
the money. That to me seems very conservative.
Right,
But
right.
I don't know.
Well, to suggest too, we had a public comment suggesting that they already have their autonomy because they do the line item. Please, there is no
No
comparison.
autonomy
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we give them an
Still
amount
have
of
to go to
money.
the Bear Motor Alderman and see whether they're going to fund it,
Well,
whether it's
they-
a line item or not, or if they're going to fund it to the level the school committee
Yeah,
thinks they should.
Yeah, so that's not their autonomy. I mean, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen decides what amount they get.
Yeah.
So it'll.
Is it looking like a real political issue? Is it going to break down along party lines like that, or
You know what? I was surprised at the 63% to the question. That's a pretty big number.
Yeah.
do you read anything
at
into
a
it?
high election?
Yeah.
High numbered election. Well, I think people are ready for a structural change of the schools. I believe they are. I don't claim to have all the answers. However, I think this is an avenue with which to go. Are they going to go up 20 million? I don't see that happening. If I'm sitting on a school board and I'm going to approve a $20 million override? Please. You know,
You're gonna have a tough time.
you know, what am I there for 2 years?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, you know, and to get 10 people to override, that's tough to
Yeah.
get 10 people.
It is.
You know,
It doesn't happen
so
very
I mean, you know, so it's fair. It's fair. You know, you need a supermajority to override. That's fair. So
Well,
yeah,
I'm not going to go that far. I think when we elect people, we should give them. We need to take bridles off. Sometimes we need to trust our elected officials.
No,
I know all this
I
comes from
agree.
lack of trust,
I
but
agree.
I believe we elect the best people we can, and we need to trust them to do the right thing. And if they don't, we elect them out.
No,
That's
exactly.
I
Exactly.
don't believe in putting constraints. You know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a party line breakdown. You know, it's,
That would be bad.
you know, the bottom line, it's education. You know, what's the best interest for the students of
Will
Manchester?
Manchester Proud weigh in on this issue?
They did. They had 4 or 5 public participants come in. You know, we had another comment from a candidate saying that, you know, they're not elected officials. Well, she wasn't an elected official either, and she's given her comment. They were all Manchester residents. And quite frankly, I think they did more research into our schools than anybody has ever done in a long
right.
time.
I got to hand it to those
so,
folks. You know?
uh,
What
No,
was their?
absolutely.
Do they have an official stance on it? or-
They were. They're pro, very pro,
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
that's good. I mean, that
You
could
know,
be
and,
very
and,
powerful.
and Bob Baines was excellent. You know, he weighed in on the mayor, saying, you know, school districts has changed since I've been a mayor and since I've been a principal.
Yeah.
And it's a tough job to look over both areas. You know, the mayor ought to be present. Yes, she's the CEO of this, you know, or he is the CEO of the city of Manchester, and you know, they ought to have weigh-in. However, to chair and have a vote is very. It's
But
very,
even a
very hard.
CEO has to delegate certain
No,
things,
that-
especially
exactly.
specialized things. You know,
Exactly.
the mayor doesn't go down to the fire commission and run the show and run
So-
the police
so-
department and
Yeah, so
you know.
he favored you know, he favored that the mayor not be the chairman, that have a school board that.
So that's some substantial support.
Yeah, it was very good support. I mean, you know, then there's you know, there was some you know, how shameful this was to the charter commission to change that question from somebody who's on the charter commission who voted no when the charter commission work was over. So, you know, you do all the work, then you vote no on all the questions.
There's enough shame to
Yeah,
slather
so-
all over that one, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, and again, it's you know, it's what the voters will do, and if it fails, then I got another idea. Let's, you know, we got to change it. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
It needs a structural change.
I think you've done a great job moving this ball as far forward as
Well, we
can.
certainly are going to have the conversation. You said
One
there's going
more
to be a
big hurdle to get
campaign.
over the vote in November,
You know.
and you know, we'll
Right.
see what happens.
Right.
The other thing a lot of things to talk with you about, Pat, but the other thing is, I guess the Board of Mayor and Aldermen just endorsed the mayor's plan for expending these federal funds that came through this COVID stimulus package
Yeah.
that actually passed. There's another huge bill for infrastructure. Who knows how that's going to come out? 'Cause
Right.
that's in the coils of the Washington mess. But talk about that and what we can get out of that, and why you think that the choices that have been made are the right choices, and what it may do for the city.
Yeah. So first of all the choices are a work in progress. So we're going to implement those programs that we appropriated the money for, and we're going to review them in 18 months or a year. If it's not doing what we expected it to do, that money could be recalled. So
When you say expectations, are you actually going to set some metrics of
Oh,
expectation?
absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is all. It's all data driven. I mean, some of it is, you know, some of it is simple stuff. You know, where
The reason I asked the question is because we've had a lot of programs, or we've had some programs in Manchester where people, I don't think it's working. And you get these arguments where nobody has any data at all. So that's why I asked the question.
No,
Are we really? Is it going to be
it's
some
all-
guy's
it's-
opinion?
Yeah, it's all data driven. It's I mean, one of the community health and violent crime reduction. we've done separately both of those with success, but they were grants and the grant run out and we didn't up them because we didn't have the money. Now
have the
we're
will. We didn't
now
have
we're
the
doing that
political
again. Now we're doing that again. However, it's a combination of the both of them. So it's not just the health initiative and the crime reduction initiative. It's both together because the data shows that if you're living in a troubling neighborhood, chances are you're going to be troubled. A healthy environment creates a healthy healthy community where there's not
the
a
individuals within that
criminal
environment,
element.
yeah.
Right.
The stress is reduced. There's more opportunities. There's more freedom to go take advantage of those opportunities. You're not
exactly.
afraid. You're not peeking out your window.
So Anna had this was implemented, I believe, Tim Soucy, when he was the health director, started an initiative with a grant that was very successful, but we couldn't carry it over because we have a tax cap and there's no money, and what do you choose? And also with Chief Alderberg, with the police chief Alderberg, the same thing. He's very pro community, community policing. He just firmly believes that neighborhoods ought to be safe and comfortable to live in. You shouldn't have to be doing different stuff because of the criminal element, So both of them together working on this. And again, that was a little over 13 million that we allocated to that. So the details going to be worked out. These are all plans that we know what the initiative is. The details are between Anna and Chief Aldenberg. So again, a work in progress.
How about the impact? You say $13 million. Is all that money going to make it to the street?
Yeah.
Or is there, some guy is going to get to work 4 hours overtime doing some paperwork upstairs?
No.
You know what I mean?
I'm
not trying to cast aspersions.
No,
but,
again,
a leaky sieve loses water.
The aldermen are adamant about data. We're gonna spend this. This is our tax dollars coming back from the feds. Everything's gonna be data driven. It has to be because we have 5 years. So,
5 years to
we
spend
have
this money?
Yeah,
Oh, that's more than I thought. I thought this money had to be spent in a couple of years.
Well, you have to appropriate it by the end of December of 24, and it all has to be spent by December of 26.
Oh.
Okay, so and then another thing is first of all, the mayor, it was either 2 or 3 months. I think it was 3 months. On the webpage had public comment, right? What do you think we should do with this money?
Yeah, I saw the button.
So 189 responded. People that are criticizing that it's not, what's the rush? You didn't give us enough time. How come they didn't respond? 3 months, 2.5 months of response time. Respond.
This has been in the works for a long
absolutely.
This is not a surprise.
So the end of August, you have to report. You have to send the Treasury your plan. So you want to send the Treasury your plan on time. Number one. Mm-hmm. Number two, they're going to review your plan, and if they don't send you back saying, "Yeah, this one doesn't qualify," you have qualified. I mean, I'm looking at the county. I'm looking at other municipalities. I sit on the municipal association board. A lot of them don't have a plan. Submit your plan at the end of August. Let the Treasury, review it and let you know that you're all set. Now, because what happens if you spend this money and it doesn't qualify, you got to pay that money back to the Treasury.
Oh, yeah.
So that comes out of your general fund.
Yeah.
So
imagine that, doing it efficiently and in the order that it should be done.
Well, absolutely.
Government at its best.
And again, it's not, it's appropriated to these programs that are going to be reviewed, are going to be data driven, and where, if it's not working, we have those funds to do if something comes up in 2 years or 3 years that we need a surge. You
can put them into a program that is working. This thing is working 99%, but we just can't reach everybody. you know, you can
I
push
mean,
that.
we've been struggling with the state with respect to juveniles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not getting the diversion programs or the help that we need. You know, here's an opportunity to throw this money into Manchester youth. You know, yeah. So, you know, it's not a done deal. It's a work in progress. That's how it's going to work, and you have 5 years. Now, you know, my personal goal is in 3 years to be able to say, yeah, what pandemic? You know what I mean? Because we've had this insurge of you know, of this money. You know, a lot of it is for businesses. I mean, you know, you hear about the restaurants, but you know, I know a lot of construction businesses that just shut down. You know, these small
Yep, the
businesses.
smaller guys that
the
can't go
smaller
into a home and
guys-
do a remodel anymore. You know, that
Exactly.
was
So now
dangerous,
they're
yeah.
starting to come back up, and they're struggling. Now there's an opportunity for them to get help with this and with the other
How does
programs.
this grant money gonna help them?
Well, startup cost. You know, it's
So that
very
include,
it's
uh,
overheads.
Offering, you know, some nice salaries for people to,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
join
To bring
up
in
and make-
employees,
Okay.
You know-
because that was a big gap. You had the stimulus that was going to existing companies, trying to keep them afloat, going to the individuals who couldn't work in the existing companies, trying to keep them afloat until they could come back.
Yeah.
But a guy, my son started a business just this year. There was not a lot available for him because he wasn't losing anything. You know what I mean? So it's
Well-
really, you know,
well,
but he's
and-
still going.
and
It's going to
it's-
have the same effect. He's going to hire people. He's, you know.
And in the construction field, you know, it's tough to show what you lost because you really can't go by last year. You know, it could have been a bad year, could have been your best year ever.
You're right.
You know, I mean, year to year, it's you know,
Yeah.
it's up and down. You know, I mean,
Depending
I saw,
on what the bank
I saw
loan rates
companies
are.
go out of business on one job. Been in business for 8 years and one job, all done.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
that can happen.
yeah. So, you know, so those programs are going to be very beneficial, and those are Manchester specific. So, you know, people having a business in Manchester, or you're a Manchester resident with a business that you had to take a
So
back seat
what are
to.
some of the other areas in which we've decided to invest this money?
I mean, there's the obvious HVAC changes.
Oh, the
to a couple
upgrades
of
for the
buildings,
ventilation
upgrades.
systems
Yeah.
to.
In businesses and restaurants and all that?
No, in city property.
City property.
City
Schools,
property.
right? I mean, the big focus
Well,
has
the
got to be schools.
schools have money for theirs.
Okay,
The schools have money for
Okay.
theirs.
I stand corrected.
We have two buildings. I forget which ones they were. We have two of them that are going to that.
How do we? I don't want to divert from where we're going, but how do we stand with regard to the infrastructure preparation for going back to school next year? Do our schools have the HEPA
do.
ventilation they need? I mean, I don't
They
know.
do.
I don't
they
even
do.
know.
They received that money. There
And it's
there were
installed,
bids
it's-
put out. They're installing it now.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little hiccup in that because you had to submit a plan, and to the DOE, New Hampshire DOE. New Hampshire DOE had to submit the plan to the federal DOE. They had to approve it, send that back to the states, and you know. And then, like with the city of Manchester, we have contractors that are already doing this stuff, so it's sole sourced. And the issue was you couldn't sole source. So we have a company who committed to putting this in for, you know, I don't know what the costs are. I'm not a HVAC guy. $10 a unit, and we'll commit to $10 a unit. Now that COVID hit, the prices are $18 to $20 a unit, but this contractor committed to $10, and he wants to continue. However, no, you got to go out to bid. That doesn't make sense.
No,
because
that
the bid is
doesn't.
going to be more
The
than
bid
10.
is guaranteed.
It's guaranteed to be more than, you know. So that was a hiccup that we. But the schools are getting.
Okay, I'm
getting a
sorry, I
proper
kinda
ventilation.
interrupted the train of
And
thought,
they
but
have
that's a
their
big
own.
issue.
They have their own ESSER funding. It's called. They, you know, Karen DeFrancis came to us and said, yeah, they got ESSER 1, 2, and 3, totaling roughly $95 million. So,
And that's
you know,
going into infrastructure.
and that's for
good.
mental
And we need
health.
that.
That's for mental health student, you know, and there's other funding for mental health and to get them caught up. You know, it's no secret that thousands of kids were back a year. You know, it's just that's just the reality of it. So with this money, you have 3 or 4 years to catch them up. And you could do that in summer programs, you could do that in mentoring.
After-school programs, which would
after-school
serve several
programs.
purposes.
No, absolutely, and we're maxed out on those. So
Yeah.
so those that are coming to the plate that want to help us with that, we need to set them up and get that done. So that is my major concern with the youth. Let's, 2 years from now, let's say, okay, COVID have no effect. We're caught up. Everybody's caught up to where they need to be. Yeah. So we have that opportunity, and we need to take that opportunity.
Yeah.
Online, if you pay your taxes, you got to pay the fee, whatever.
Oh, yeah, the transaction fee.
Those are being wiped out for a year or so. We got $1 million towards that. So those fees, you won't have to pay those fees if you pay online. So there's good, there's good appropriations. And again, it's not a done deal. It's going to take data for the programs we're setting up. And again, there's people that are saying, this should not be going to operational. You need operational. You got 5 years of operational with federal funding. Let's do that. Again, we need to tell people that we're hiring for these things that this is a 5-year position.
And is some of this going to alleviate the housing shortage and
Affordable housing, we got $3 million going to affordable
and
housing.
how's that going to work?
There's going to be funding available to publicly help people that are looking for affordable housing. I mean, that's another.
Does that go directly to
but that
people,
doesn't-
or does it go to the home builder?
It goes to the developer, to the
Developer, yeah.
developer to make their prices meet. So we have two RFPs that went out. One for Pearl Street lot, one for the Harnett lot. Harnett lot is where St. Joe's Church is, that
Yeah.
parking lot there,
Right in
and the
front of my
Pearl
office.
Street lot is behind
The old racks, right?
The old racks, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we got 4 developers that put in an RFP, and that has an affordable housing criteria on it. Now, it absolutely will not be 100% affordable housing. We learned, and data shows that, you have 160 unit of affordable housing, that doesn't help. It becomes a depressed area. You need a mix. Why?
Yep.
Because the middle class and the upper middle class that are getting these $2,000 apartments with the affordable housing will have a job. Hey, we're looking for a driver. I saw I heard you were going on unemployment. We're looking for a driver. Yeah, I could do that. That's how it works. You get a group of.
You bring a community together rather than segregating it.
Exactly.
And you're going to have a
Exactly.
better result. And
So-
I can tell you
so-
from what they're doing in Boston, as you know, I work in construction in
Right,
Boston,
yeah.
and they have these, they can do it. They're bigger, okay?
Right.
They have requirements that if you're going to build high-end housing, you have to accommodate some low-end housing. They want it within the building, but they'll accept within the block.
Right.
And the result is that you have a better mix of your neighborhood. Your neighborhood has a better chance to thrive rather than by segregating based on economics.
And you need people that are coming in here to work in restaurants, to work at at these these low paying jobs. The minimum wages are less.
No, we've got to get rid of the low-paying jobs, Pat, is what we got to do.
My sister was that's another issue. My sister was a pastor in New Canaan, Connecticut. And she says, hey, we're going to get up early. We're going to go to the coffee house, and you're going to see something you've never seen. Yeah, okay. So we go to the Starbucks. We're sitting there. She goes, starts at 6. So you see all these $5,000 suits coming down from New Canaan. It's a suburb of New York City. You see all the $5,000 suits coming on, getting on a train, going to New York City. Then a half hour later, you see another train coming with all the low-income wage earners in New York City and the Bronx and Brooklyn coming to clean the houses and do the landscaping. I'm like, this is freaking blowing me away. I mean, all the $5,000 suits get on the train, boom. Yeah. And then all the people from New York City
from New York City
coming in to clean the houses, and So yeah, that's why
That's
you
not
need
community. Is that what you're trying to say, Pat?
Exactly. Yeah, that's not the community I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for setting up a transportation from wherever to come into Manchester to take these jobs. So.
Yeah.
So it would never be 100% affordable housing.
Are there going to be covenants on these, or is it just one generation of affordable and then,
No, there'll be covenants on it. Yeah, absolutely. And with some of them, it'll be, well, it all depends what they're going after. I mean, if there's a couple phrases on affordable housing that you get tax credit from the feds, that the feds drive that.
Yeah.
So Manchester will drive our own. So we got that $3 million in there, and the county has money for that, and the state has money for that. I'm hoping to ingest some of this with some county money. Of course, the commissioners are the ones that approve projects, but the delegation appropriates the money.
the budget, right? Yeah.
Right.
So I think I saw somewhere that one of the things that is looking to be done with some of this money is hire some park rangers for our city parks.
Yeah, there's 3 park rangers.
I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And I think that could help with a lot of our issues in the city, could it
No,
not?
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And again,
We used to have a lot more city involvement in our parks. Now, a lot of this was federal money, one-time money, came in. I'm thinking Fun in the Sun, way back in the day and things like that. But, I have several parks in my neighborhood, and I could remember when the city would employ a young kid to be at the park at a picnic table and work with the little kids. The moms could trust that their kid could go play. There'd be some crafts. There'd be someone there to be a little responsible for it. And that seems, it's been a long, long time since, in my neighborhood anyway, since we've seen that.
Yeah, when you put a strain on appropriations, that's what happens, because you can't think outside the box. So you can't, even though you're not going to raise a 6 or 7% tax rate, you need to take small bites. A 0.5% here, a 1/4% here, to eventually get to where you're full. So when you're going on an every year basis, it's what's on the plate today. And let's take care of that, because we have this cap. We're not going to override it. I mean, right now we have 431,000 in our contingency. And I dropped in the budget. I tried to get $1 million in there. Why? Because that is what the citizens want. They come to us and say, "Hey, we need a light.
I need a 4-way stop
Well,
sign.
that's $200,000 that highway department doesn't have.
Yeah.
We'll take it out of contingency. The contingency is money for things that our constituency is asking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Pat, if the constituents who are asking for these things started to be told, "No, you can't have it," I wonder how in favor of the tax cap they'd be.
Yeah, well,
I know you guys work really
they're-
hard on the ward level to take. These are important things. These are where kids are crossing the street. These are sidewalks where kids are going. I get it, but people are able to lob hand grenades politically with no consequences.
Right.
Yeah.
And
No, you're
guys
right,
like
you're
you
right. But I'm-
backfill the gap.
But I
and-
can't. But for the life of me, I can't go against an alderman, because I know what that position is. Your constituency.
but you
that
hear
you're
me
meeting-
too, right?
Oh no, I do. Your constituency is telling you the facts, and here's the solution. So I can't tell any alderman. I gotta respect them all for being elected. I'm not going to do that because you didn't vote for the more appropriation in the budget. This year there's going to be no votes because we don't have the money. 431,000 is going to get sucked right up.
Yeah.
So,
we don't
folks,
have
if
the money,
you
so it's
need
gonna
a
be
stop
no.
sign, get your wish list in quick. 'Cause
Yeah.
So is there anything we haven't touched on that's going to be done with this federal largesse, $43 million?
No, I think I believe the constituency is going to see, in a year's time, the surge of positive energy in the city with respect
Well,
to
that's
this.
wonderful to hear.
Yeah, and
Because there was really not a lot of dissent on your board to this plan, was there, or was there?
No, well, when it first came out, it was a little tough because we got it on a Thursday, and you got till Tuesday to read it. and there weren't a lot of details, so we're calling about details. Until for me personally, until I realize that this is a work in progress, this is not absolute, where that's it. Again, it's going to be data driven. Make sure we have make sure we have the data that this is working and continue it for the 5 years. And I know on the website, asking citizens what they thought we should do. Homelessness was the second initiative. I mean, this extends for another 3 years our homeless director, Shauna Green, who by the way is coming to us August 3rd for a presentation, and she is awesome. She
making
is
a
a
difference
hard
already?
worker.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, an actual
Absolutely.
palpable
Tell us a
difference
little
from,
about that, 'cause it does seem the issue
from
has
day
been-
one, she
has been
she
diffused
really,
quite a bit.
Well,
I mean.
in the first week she was here, she says, "Why are you giving this CIP money?" Didn't even know what that was. CIP money to these nonprofits for homeless. Well, because it's federal money coming to us, and they're the ones that qualify for it. Yeah, but what do you get for that? Well, we get the shelter. We get no. What's your number one problem? My number one problem is encampments. She goes, okay, why don't you say, here's your $1.2 million, and you need to show me on your reports that you're taking care of 5 encampment people. I'm like, well,
That's not a bad idea.
yeah. She goes, and the other one you just gave 700 to, they're taking care of 3 encampment people. And they're showing you in their reports, here's what we're doing. Okay, there's 8 encampment people we don't have to worry about. That's how it starts. Next thing you know, there's 30 people out of the encampments and
in programs that
and
are
in
gonna help them,
programs and helping them
hopefully,
be independent. So I was like, yeah, because it was just automatic. Oh, federal money. Oh, gotta go to this guy. Gotta go to this guy. All set.
So how long is she with us? Has she got a long-term contract? or-
2 years. She's
what, been here about 6 months or something?
she's been here. No, she's been here for like 3 months. Not even 3 months yet.
3 months.
Yeah.
Good.
And she's mixing it up, I mean, nonprofits, and she loves our nonprofits, but sometimes nonprofits are self-motivated. That's a nonprofit. I gotta take care of my nonprofit. Where she's mixing it up. She's telling them this is what needs to be done. Best practices out in Oregon and New York City may not be our best practices. I mean, I've always been an alderman that went with best practice. If somebody came up to me in the field and said, well, this is the best practice. Okay, what do I know? However, Shauna's showing me that some best practices will not work in Manchester.
Yeah.
Let's talk it through, walk through it, and you'll see. And I was like, yep, you're right. I need to walk through these best practices to make sure they fit in the city. And she has 30 years of experience in
I was
Florida.
just gonna say, someone who brings expertise to a position is a remarkable thing. You can get a lot done, can't you?
Yeah, again, I'm just guessing at what I collect for data and what should be done. And then she comes in and qualifies some of that stuff, and I'm like, holy mackerel, because, to a better detail that I ever could have, I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Really?
So
Is it just her, or does she have staff?
it's just her. It's just her, and I mean, I'd like to see, I'd like to see some help. I mean, she freaking calls me up at like 5 in the morning.
Really?
I mean, she is not sleeping. I told her,
Wow.
Shauna, I'm telling you, I trust me. I know the aldermen, they are gonna love your report. They are gonna love it. Trust me. This is stuff that we have never heard and absolutely makes sense.
Sounds like
You
I
know,
guess we
don't-
should
don't-
recruit for the
I was
Don't be,
I was thinking that in the back of my mind.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, it would be a
Yeah.
great show to have both of you
Absolutely.
on the show. I
Yeah.
mean, we could have a heck of a
You've been
focus on that one issue. Focus on that one issue.
So,
I think
so
we
I,
could-
so I think you're going to see, you're going to see some, again, structural changes with respect to the homeless
Wonderful.
initiatives.
Wonderful. So that's been such a big issue here, politically and, substantively as well. kind of want to turn to kind of the shape of the races shaping up in the municipal elections coming up. You're running again,
I am.
and that's a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah.
And what's it look like to you? What do you think about the races coming up? Are anybody surprised in running? Or
Well, I'm happy to see the at-large races. There's 6,
Filling
I
right up,
believe,
yeah.
filling up. Personally, I like people that are doers, people that have accomplished things,
Yeah.
people that I know can, I know can, if elected, will step up to the plate.
I
take
know
the
who
bull
you're
by the
talking
horn.
about, Pat. You're talking about June Trisciani.
No, absolutely. I mean, she is a doer. You
Yeah.
know, and we've disagreed and had our arguments, but you know what? You could talk to her and you could persuade her.
Yeah.
And
she's
she-
not always wrong.
No,
You know, I mean,
exactly.
she can
And-
persuade you
and-
too.
And she's a doer. So there are people running. I mean, that's we talk about advancing the city of Manchester, and if we get people that I mean, everybody has to accommodate their ward. Otherwise, if you're not taking your phone calls, you're just not going to get reelected.
Yeah, right.
However, we need people to step up out of that also, and because we're also initiating city initiatives, city policies. We need people to take that horn,
Pat,
and move it forward.
I've always been
know?
bothered by the voter who says, I vote my pocketbook. You got to vote for what's good for everybody, And Alderman, yeah, I vote my ward, but you're also, your ward's nothing without the city. You got to vote for what's good for everybody.
Well, I'll give you an example. Is the what do you call your when you cut your grass and all that.
Oh,
waste.
the trash, the yard waste pickup.
Yard waste
going
pickup,
with. Yeah,
there
that
you
was
go.
a problem.
No, exactly. However, that was 47 and 160, so that was 200 and something $1,000 that we happen to have in contingency. And the ones that were complaining the most about it were the ones that didn't want to put the money in the contingency. You know what I mean? So it comes to a point. Yes, protect my wallet. I get that.
Yeah.
I don't want to add burden to that. However, we happen to have that money, and it was immediately addressed.
Yeah, that would have been a serious
your
problem.
yard
I mean, what do you
waste
do?
was- yeah,
I mean, it would have been a mess. It would have been
No,
a mess.
exactly. So but we took that out of the budget. Why? Because we had to stay below a cap.
Yeah.
And there was 200 something thousand we didn't have to be concerned about, and
that cap,
they thought they could do it once a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're getting close to the end here, Pat. It's always fascinating, everyone. You're such a fount of wisdom and do so much. I just wanted you, if you would like to talk a little bit about the effect of the state budget on the city, and because the Republicans are really doing a good job, I think, of promoting their budget, of cutting business taxes, helping with property tax relief, and all of this. They kind of slough over things like giving $10 million to the victims of the financial resources mortgage scam, which the House voted down, paying those people off many times, and it's
There's a lot of people that have been victims of crimes that don't get any cash.
I mean, the bottom line.
They're not rich investors, though, right?
How is the state budget going to work out for the city of
Bottom
Manchester?
line was the budget wasn't transparent. Period. It just wasn't. When you have over 100 policies in there, that's not transparency. How many rank and file people? I happen to read the budget. It's 700 or 800 and something pages.
lot of reading.
How many people read that? I mean, they say, well, it's in the bill. Yeah,
Right.
my wife's not sitting down reading 782 pages of a state budget.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you're
unless
talking
you
about
said-
those non-budget related, the social.
Well, not only that, but every citizen has a tax break. You know what your tax break is? Your rooms and meals tax. You get to save 10 cents for a burger.
Yeah.
That's your, but the verbiage is every citizen gets a tax break. They're not telling you it's 10 cents. If you
eat out.
happen to go out to eat.
Yeah, if you can afford to go out to eat.
Correct. So it's, it's unfortunate, and you're right. The $10 million that were put in where we needed $5 million for teeth for Medicaid patients. We all know teeth are an important aspect of
Harbinger of health.
of health.
Big part of
So
your health,
we
yeah.
needed $5 million. However, they decided no, we'll put the $10 million in for to pay back those that got scammed.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it works out. Are you and the other aldermen concerned about the apparent resurgence of the virus with this Delta variant? And do you think we're going to have to go back into a mass situation in a lot of places? Is something being done about
Our
that?
public health is on that. Anna Thomas is on that, and she does get questions periodically. And I think that may
We're
be.
so lucky to be served by her and Phyllis.
They are.
They are
I mean, we
heroes.
have
They are
some.
heroes
We
for
have some employees that are just on the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
Phil is another one
Phil's
that's
another
just.
one. Phil and Anna.
Any question you ask him, he
He
has
knows
it.
right
Like,
there, yeah.
I just heard about this last week. You already had the research done. Yeah, they're good. So those questions will come up periodically at the automatic boards.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll give us the
Yeah,
latest.
we should get one of them back on, because I mean, it just
No,
seems alarming.
if you don't tamp it out, it's going to come back. It's got to
Well,
get we're this close.
What
It
I'm
really
hearing
seems
is
a
there are
shame.
some people that don't want to, unfortunately, serve on some of our commissions and boards because they're immune compromised,
Yeah.
and they're afraid of this, and and I get that, because now we have to meet publicly,
Mm-hmm.
and
Are we filling up the needs for our election officials in this election? Are there enough people signing up to be moderators and selectmen in our wards?
yeah, there are some that are low, but Joanne at the clerk's office reaches out to aldermen and other
she's
people
excellent,
to,
yeah.
to get to get people.
There's usually every ward has a group of folks that you can recruit if they're just
Right.
tapped on the shoulder a little bit,
Right. I met a woman that
I mean, I really worry about it with the Republican attack on, voting officials and some of their proposals
yeah.
in states. I guess maybe not in this case in New Hampshire. I'm pretty concerned about the voter suppression in New Hampshire.
But
too.
what blew me away is the Secretary of State has made a decision. I was talking to Joanne. I went in there and I asked for the presidential election in Ward 3. Right, that's the biggest number I'm ever going to get.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit that universe. Well, you can't get it.
What?
A municipal campaign, you can't get that electronically. I could print it out in paper for you.
Why?
The Secretary of State read the bill and has determined that that's the case. So I'm
Why?
like-
That
it's like,
doesn't
so I
answer the
could-
question. Why? What's
so,
the
yeah,
secret?
I don't know why.
What bill is this?
One of the bills that passed, which I wasn't aware of.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, you end the show with that, Pat. We could
Yeah, I
leap
know.
off that, but we're,
Well, I
we're
could
running
I
out
could
of
throw
time.
I could throw a couple more singers if you want in a minute here, but
Well, okay. Here
And
we
it's time
are.
to wrap up.
We wrapped up without going through our usual 2 intermissions, and we didn't get any calls, but we didn't plead for calls today. We have to
No.
remember to do that.
No, it's a nice
And
night out.
I just would say, Pat, we're so grateful for the service that you render to the city and the state and the county in your various roles, and it's invaluable. And you certainly give the people a lot of value for the modest sums that you receive for doing this. And we're very grateful that you're such a fine public servant, and going to continue. I'm
so
sure.
reach out to your alderman if housing.
Don't have an alderman anymore.
Housing initiatives. Well, reach out to the at-large people.
Yeah.
Housing initiatives, or
I'd rather. I got one guy I can. Call.
you're in a business. You got a small business that you had to take a back seat to because it just wasn't happening. Reach out to your alderman.
Yep.
And
Okay.
apply for this stuff.
Time to go.
Time to go. Everybody, thank you for watching. Next time, give us a call. See you next week.
See you next week, folks.
Thank you.